What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is AkeemHaynes. I'm a two-time Olympic bronze medalist, author, motivational speaker, and sports commentator. On my channel, we talk boxing, MMA, track and field, and of course, motivation and encouraging content. If this is something that you enjoy, then I hope that you subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into the video. Vasiliy Lomachenko versus Jamaine Ortiz. Let's get into this one. Lomachenko is back in the ring this weekend for the first time since his dominating win over Richard Comey last year. He's coming into this one with a record of 16 wins, 2 losses, 11 wins by way of knockout. Since we last saw him, a lot has changed in his life, especially with his country, right? He stayed back to help his country fight the war against Russia, just like his countryman Alexander Usyk did. And we saw how Usyk performed when he came back. Didn't seem like Usyk missed a beat. So we'll see if Lomachenko can do the same thing or feel the same way against a hungry, talented young fighter in Jamaine Ortiz. Now, what makes Loma special is the fact that he fights with ease, right? Doesn't force what's not there, doesn't look worried, doesn't look distracted. He kind of flows with the fight, right? He flows with the fight and lets the fight come to him. They call him the Matrix because of how he can slide on the inside, drop a few shots off, then pivot to the left or to the right, drop a few more shots off, and leave his opponents stuck, standing still right where they are. One thing about Loma is he's going to move constantly, and he's going to frustrate you with that movement. He's not going to stop frustrating you, right? With each round, he gets more confident and he gets more warmer in the fight, and he finds your timing, and that's when he starts to break you down. You see, most fighters get broken down physically. It's the punishing shots, it's the body shots, the liver shots, the straight hand down the middle, right? But Loma breaks you down a different way first. Before it's physical, it's first mental. Against Richard Comey, Comey was punching and swinging, and Loma would move to the side. Comey would jab and come in and try and land his shots, and Loma would pivot out of the way and catch Comey as Comey was trying to get out the way. I was thinking to myself, man, it's a fight, right? And in Richard Comey's perspective, if I was in his skin, right, you can hit your opponent, yet your opponent can touch you whenever it wants. That's really what it looked like to me. Comey may have lasted all 12 rounds of the fight, but he was dejected, and you could see it in his face, right? He was frustrated, and that's what Loma can do. He's tremendously skilled and tremendously talented. In his fight against Nakatani, right, which was just punishment for Nakatani from the start, right? Loma came into that fight with something to prove after the loss against Teofimo, right? He wanted to prove that that loss wasn't a big deal. He wanted to prove that he wasn't fully healthy in that fight. And that was an impressive win because he didn't wait. He took the initiative. Loma sometimes has a tendency to take a few rounds before he starts to attack, right? Some people call it he's downloading data, and cool, whatever works for you, whatever works for you. But I'm a person where it's like, man, you can't give away the early rounds because it may be too late to turn it back on later as the fight goes on. But against Nakatani, he got into his groove a lot earlier, a lot sooner. He came and he pressed early, and that's been the biggest difference that I've seen from Lomachenko since his loss, right? He's the same guy, same skills, same footwork, same angle, same style of punches, same matrix, but he's been waiting less to apply the pressure, and that is a Lomachenko that we'll see more of moving forward, and especially in this fight, because if he can frustrate you early, it makes for an even longer night for his opponent. Ortiz has his hands full this weekend, but that doesn't mean that he can't win this fight either. So let's talk about Jamaine Ortiz coming into this one with a record of 16 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw, 8 wins by way of knockout. Ortiz is a very good, solid, sound fighter. He's got good size, uses his jab well, sets up his shots well. Very good placement puncher, right? And knows how to get around the high guard and find the openings on his opponents. But I want to go back to his fight against Jamel Herring. I don't remember what the odds were in that fight, but I do believe that Jamel Herring was the favored fighter in that fight, right? Jamel was more experienced. He fought tougher opponents. He had a championship pedigree. He was a former world champion, right? All of those things coming into that fight made it seem like Jamel Herring was going to outclass the younger fighter and was just going to give him a little bit of a boxing lesson, right? Use that age and that experience to his advantage. But when the fight started, we saw that was far from the case. All night, Jamaine Ortiz looked like the better fighter across the board. Jamel had some good moments, but Ortiz, he was faster, he was quicker, he was better conditioned, and he recovered better between the rounds. He was more of the aggressive fighter throughout that fight. He controlled the pace of the fight once he found his rhythm and found his confidence and got his groove. And eventually, his youth started to show against Jamel Herring. Jamel Herring, you could see, was going backwards and he was starting to slow it down, whereas Ortiz was starting to pick up the pace. And he was able to do a lot more without getting tired, right? And he seized the upper hand and control, especially that second half of that fight. It was a very, very, very good win and performance from Jamaine Ortiz. And after the fight, I like what he said. He said, I'm still hungry for this, right? It was a good win, but it wasn't my best performance. I like the fact that he knows that there's still more for him and he wants more. And him and his team, they definitely want to go against tougher opposition like they are this weekend. I think against Loma, he's going to have to use his size and try and bully Loma in the ring. When you're in close, even if you have to hold him up a little bit and push him up against the ropes, right? I think he should do that. I'm not saying he has to be dirty or try to be dirty, but he needs to be able to get into the ring and to assert himself and to say, you know what, I am the bigger man here. And you're not just going to matrix me like you've been able to do against other opponents. He's also going to have to be able to cut off the ring. If he lets Loma run around in circles against him and he lets Loma do Loma things and lets the movement be too much for him, he's going to get overwhelmed because he's going to be getting hit from angles and from shots that he didn't think he could get hit from. So he has to be able to cut off the ring. It's hard to hit a moving target, but if you can slow that target down, you'll be able to have a better chance and opportunity to hit that target, right? When the opening is there, he needs to let his hands go, touch up the body where he can, and not be overly patient where he lets Loma get comfortable inside the ring and where he is the one that is the aggressor. The bigger man should try and be the bigger man by being more assertive and being more aggressive. If he can get Loma to fight off of the back foot, I think he will be able to disrupt some of Loma's strengths and use that to his advantage. You're not going to be able to slow down or shut out Loma completely the fight, but how can you slow down his momentum? How can you slow him down so you can hit him? This is a big opportunity for Ortiz, and it's a dangerous fight for Loma. A loss for Loma here sets back his plans of getting that fight against Devin Haney and being a champion once again. But if Ortiz can win this fight, well, this changes things for him in many different ways. So in this one, I still have Vasiliy Lomachenko winning this fight. I don't think Jamaine is going to be able to cut off the ring well enough to really slow down Lomachenko. I think Loma is going to have him swinging for the stars because he's not going to be able to just bottle him up in one spot. And I think he'll get countered a bit in this fight. So I think Ortiz will have some good moments, but I don't think it will be enough moments to win this fight. I have Vasiliy Lomachenko winning this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this fight? Let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly, greatly appreciated. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my social media handles will be on screen as well. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, then do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.